Welcome back to the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast presented by BrotoFantasy.com. I'm your host, Tim Petrop, with my brothers, the only two twins that give you double that fantasy goodness, Michael and Jason Petrop. Hello, everybody, and welcome back to the summer heat wave. We're still in the AFC West. Today, we're going to be talking about the Denver Broncos. Shout out to Denver, Colorado,
treated us well.
where I spent my bachelor party.
The one that we planned in half a day.
Yeah, because we were supposed to go to New Orleans, but we'll talk about that another time. Or you can check us out at Broto Fantasy and the Broto Fantasy Football Podcast, and you can hear us talk about our personal life right in the beginning of every show, honestly.
True.
But we're not talking about our personal life here. We got to get to business.
This is personal,
The Broncos are the next team up. Let's go to their offensive outlook to start, where we look at their coaches and what kind of scheme they're going to be running. Their head coach is Vic Fangio, formerly the Bears defensive coordinator.
Fangio and Scangarello.
Yeah, no, yo, why are you going to take my joke like that?
You want some salami and pastrami?
And in the mortadella sandwich, his offensive coordinator is Rick Scangarello. Fangio and Scangarello over here. He was a 49ers QB coach for the last couple of years. Not much you could really take from that in terms of what to expect on the offense. So this is going to be a brand new type of offense with brand new weapons. One of the youngest teams in terms of the fantasy weapons and in terms of their experience. So let's get started right away at quarterback. I think it's easy to say that neither of these guys that are fighting for this quarterback position are going to be on your roster week one. Joe Flacco, Drew Lock.
It's Flacco's job.
It's Flacco's job right now. When does Drew?
No way Drew Lock starts week one.
No way.
Yeah.
But I do think Drew Lock starts this season. I don't really think that this is a situation you can get into. So you want to just skip it? You guys got something to say about the quarterback?
I mean, if you're in a 2 QB league, Joe Flacco's a low end.
Sure.
QB2 in some weeks. But, yeah, go ahead.
When we talk on wide receivers.
All right, yeah.
All right, great. So let's
but you're not trusting these guys generally.
Let's go to wide receivers. Joe Flacco has never supported a top 12 PPR wide receiver.
ever in his life.
Ever in his life.
And that's PPR. It's not even half PPR.
In
PPR.
7 of 11 seasons, he's provided 2 top 36 receivers. So if you take that, there's a 63% chance that 1 or 2 of the Broncos wide receivers will at least be wide receiver 3 worthy. So you need to consider which ones will those be. And do we really want to spend value on these guys going off of this? Joe Flacco's highest career passer rating has come to a slot wide receiver. Lowest career passer rating has come to the outside wide receiver. It's a little strange because you always thought he had a good arm.
Well, I think that probably is a narrative that changed from early in his career because he was known as the downfield guy early in his career. Now
when he won the Super Bowl, he was effective downfield.
And now he never goes downfield anymore.
Exactly.
I think a lot of that might have to do with an injury that they're saying is better, and it was a back injury. So, I mean, some of it might have to do with that.
What I was getting to is that Courtland Sutton is currently being drafted as a wide receiver 38.
Blech.
Everything that I just said basically implies that that's his ceiling.
Yeah.
I mean, but with Courtland Sutton, he did put up 700 yards and 4 touchdowns in a rookie season with Case Keenum and co at quarterback. So it's not like, and he has the draft capital.
He's skilled too. The dude
to the outside receivers, Keenum could get it to Diggs and
he
Thielen
has
on the outside.
But Sutton has the tools. He's 6'3", he's fast. I don't like the I don't love the situation. I could see why people draft him at wide receiver 38. I'd trust him more wide receiver 45ish, maybe that area. So I don't know if I'm going to own a lot of Courtland Sutton because of Joe Flacco, but 704 as a rookie season is pretty solid.
The 2 wide receivers who could end top 36 that I was talking about earlier, it's probably going to be one or the other, is DaeSean Hamilton and Emmanuel Sanders. Emmanuel Sanders is 32, coming off an Achilles injury, which is incredibly tough to come back from. I'll take my chances with DaeSean.
With that said, though, Emmanuel Sanders was 28th in true target value last season and somehow turned that into wide receiver 1 when he was healthy. So he was super effective with his bad throws from Keenum and company. So, yes, he's 32. Yes, he's coming off a bad injury, but they're already saying he looks great in practice and that he might even start the season ready to go, which was unexpected. So, Emmanuel Sanders, he was basically free in drafts. He's going in double-digit rounds, 13th, 14th, 15th round, because he's just an afterthought at this point. If you could get him that late now, I'd take the chance there.
Joe Flacco does like his veteran receivers, so I think there is something to be said about Emmanuel Sanders here.
I mean, Sure, I think he's better. I think Sutton's the odd man out of this group of three, but Hamilton was very good in the slot last season.
What about Tim Patrick, who was good last year?
No, he's just the second receiver on the outside if he gets on the field.
Yeah.
So
That's
not someone I'm taking.
DaeSean Hamilton is. I don't know if I could trust him. I mean, he did have 7. He had 7 receptions, 7, 7, 6, and 5 respectively over the last 4 weeks of the season, but he never had over 50 receiving yards in any of those games. So he was getting the ball close to the line of scrimmage. I know, but you don't know what type of offense you're going to be running with Joe Flacco. Yes, he does like throwing to the slot, so there is a chance Hamilton.
I don't love Hamilton.
Is the most effective receiver of the bunch, but he's not someone I'm like loving this season. But at his ADP, where is he going? Probably wide receiver 45 to 50ish area,
like
if not
that.
later.
Yeah.
I don't mind taking a chance on him there. I got him in the Scott Fish Bowl in like the 14th round. So
Are you talking about DaeSean or Emmanuel?
DaeSean.
I got DaeSean too. Let's go to the running back situation with the Broncos. Last year, Phillip Lindsay kind of took the year by storm. He finishes a running back 2 or better in 11 of 14 weeks. So this is a guy who you didn't even draft that ended up being a great player for you, kind of in the mold of James Conner, except without the big home runs.
Talk about a waiver wire darling.
Right, a waiver. But then he started to fall off at the end, got hurt, new coaching staff, so there's going to be a whole new evaluation process that's going on. Some people right now in the fantasy community believe that Royce Freeman is not only poised to steal this role, but is the back to own in the Denver backfield. He was drafted 71st overall, so he comes with that draft pedigree. Phillip Lindsay, of course, undrafted. Do you think that Phillip Lindsay remains the running back and the workhorse type running back, or do you think that Royce Freeman has a real chance to take this from him?
I've often said that coaches still live in the Paleolithic age where their guy is a big deal. Mm-hmm. And now that the Broncos have brought in new guys, Phillip Lindsay isn't the UDFA darling. He's just a player that they're looking at. But all signs are pointing to the fact that they think he's going to be their 1A. I say 1A because I don't think he's going to be a workhorse anymore. If you look at Scangarello, he worked for the Falcons in 2015 on the offensive side of the ball. And without anyone guiding him to this, he compared Freeman and Lindsay to Freeman and Coleman. Not necessarily in that order, but I think that's a real possibility here. Flacco isn't the best quarterback. They're going to probably want to run the ball, play good defense. They got Von Miller and co. So if we're looking at that, the big thing here, Devontae Booker saw 30% of the snaps last season. I think there's rumblings that he'll get cut.
He needs to get cut.
That needs to happen because if that's the case,
I'm sorry for cutting you off, but he was just so much more ineffective when he touched the ball compared to the metrics of Royce Freeman and Phillip Lindsay. It really made no sense why he even got it.
Yeah, and it's not like he's a better pass catcher than those two either, which is what boggled my mind because Phillip Lindsay was a good pass catcher at Colorado. He had some receptions last year, over 200 receiving yards, over 1,000 rushing yards. Freeman was at 500 rushing yards, 5 touchdowns. Phillip Lindsay scored 10 touchdowns. So Lindsay was basically 66%, and Freeman was 33% when it came to the rushing yards for those two. I think Phillip Lindsay at his ADP is a good pick. Personally, in PPR leagues, maybe not so much but they are also saying that he's going to be more involved in the passing game, and he's even lined up on the outside in some situations. I could see a situation where Lindsay and Freeman are both on the field at the same time, where maybe a screen pass to Lindsay, like a RPO type, either hand it off to Freeman or throw a screen to Lindsay type play. So, I mean, I think Phillip Lindsay at his ADP, he's being drafted as if he's still this guy who you don't know what to expect. And maybe, like you guys said, maybe he's not the guy anymore, but that's not what beat reporters are saying. That's not what the Broncos are saying.
If Booker's out of the equation, even if Freeman gets 40% of the touches, I think that at his ADP, doing the heat wave, I warmed up to Phillip Lindsay, and I'm cool with taking him where he's going.
Yeah,
I think
fifth,
it's a good value.
6th round.
Yeah, I take him in the 5th round every day.
He's cool with taking him. Boom.
Oh, the heat wave.
Simmering down on the heat.
Let's move over to tight ends. Now, look.
Nope.
Everyone knows Jason's theory, which is a very good theory. I would say almost fact, that rookie tight ends should not be drafted because rookie tight ends never do anything.
Yeah.
But this is Joe Flacco, who targets tight ends forever. If you don't think that Noah Fant can make an immediate impact, which there have been some beat writers that say they expect Noah Fant to make an immediate impact. He was a 20th overall pick. Any love for Jake Butt, maybe?
No. I mean, he was a rookie last season, but then he got hurt. So he's basically another rookie. If anything, Jeff Heuerman is the name to know.
Yeah, Jeff Heuerman.
So I'm just don't get a tight end from the Broncos. That's the answer.
I mean, but how could you say that with Joe Flacco, a quarterback?
It doesn't matter. It's a new offense. He'll use the slot receivers instead. Hamilton and Sanders could be on the field at the same time.
There is something to be said about the fact
tight end.
The Ravens' system maybe led him more to tight ends because Lamar Jackson, half of his yards went to tight ends and running backs last year.
That's all they're doing now.
So yeah, it's interesting to see. All right, so let's skip over tight ends then. Let's go to our last category, one injury away. Michael, why don't you start us off? Who's one injury away from fantasy relevance or fantasy stardom in Denver?
Lindsay or Freeman.
I agree.
If one of them
Lindsay or
goes
Freeman.
down, the other one becomes a stud and a half, in my opinion.
Facts. I mean, it's just opportunity.
I went with a little different approach. I said DaeSean Hamilton, 100% certainty. The only reason keeping his ADP back right now is because people are concerned about Emmanuel Sanders. And if something were to happen to his Achilles again, of course, I don't hope that. Great guy. But if that were to happen, and we knew DaeSean Hamilton was going to be the slot receiver, Joe Flacco's go-to guy for the entire season, he'd get into the wide receiver 3 category and be drafted higher.
All right. With that being said, that is our preview for the Denver Broncos on the summer heat wave. Mike, where can they find you?
Mike_Petrop.
Jason, where can they find you?
Jason Petrop.
You can find me at Tim Petrop on all social media outlets, but only if you're feeling real frisky. Also, don't forget, patreon.com/BrotoFantasy to support the show. BrotoFantasy.com for everything Broto Fantasy. YouTube.com/BrotoFantasy. Twitter @BrotoFantasy. And with that, we'll see you next time. The summer heat wave continues next.
Later.